It's 1997, LaGuardia Airport, New York. Andre Agassi, one of the biggest stars in world sports, hears his cell phone ring. On the other end is someone from the ATP. The message is short and devastating. He has just failed a doping test. His name, his Grand Slam titles, his endorsement deals, his whole career. Everything is on the line now. Everything he's built, everything he's worked for, it could all be gone, just like that. So what does he do? He lies and plays the victim card. Agassi decides to write a letter to the ATP blaming his assistant Slim. He says Slim is a drug user and that he often spikes his sodas with meth. Andre then adds that not long ago, he accidentally drank from one of Slim's spiked sodas without knowing there were drugs in it. He says he had no idea, that it was a mistake. He asks for understanding, for leniency. Then he quickly signs the letter, sincerely. To make things even worse, Agassi spends the entire 1997 season dealing with a wrist injury, and his marriage to actress Brooke Shields is toxic. He's emotionally drained, burned out, and stuck playing a game he doesn't love. Then comes the biggest drop of his professional career. He plays only 24 matches the entire year. He skips the Australian Open, Roland Garros, and Wimbledon. At one point that season, Andre Agassi falls to 141st in the world. A three-time Grand Slam champion, an Olympic gold medalist in Atlanta. And now, he's at the bottom. It feels like there's no way out. Is this the end of his career at just 27 years old? Well, not exactly. Some people, every now and then, have more luck than sense. Maybe it's because he's the most marketable star in world tennis. Maybe it's because of his huge sponsorship deals with Nike and other major brands. Either way, the ATP decides to accept his explanation. No suspension. The whole case is quietly swept under the rug. And the real truth? We won't learn it for another 12 years. And when it finally comes out, it's not from the ATP. It comes from Andre Agassi himself in his autobiography, Open. Roger Federer will later call the revelation shocking and disappointing. Marat Safin will go even further. He will argue that Agassi should return his prize money and be stripped of his titles. In the meantime, Agassi uses his second chance the best way possible. In 1998, he pulls off a remarkable comeback. He makes the biggest one-year jump into the top 10 in the history of the ATP rankings. Now, back in top physical and mental shape, Agassi is on track to make 1999 the best year of his career. At the Australian Open, a tournament he had already won back in 1995, he surprisingly loses in the fourth round. But that disappointment is quickly forgotten, because what comes next will be the best 9 months of Andre Agassi's career. Roland Garros, Paris. The only Grand Slam missing from his collection. And at that moment, something no man had ever done before is within reach. The career Super Slam. No one has won all 4 Grand Slams on 3 different surfaces, plus the year-end championship and an Olympic gold medal. Andre Agassi has a chance to write his name into the history of world tennis. He arrives at the tournament with a shoulder injury, and he almost doesn't even show up. But the Roland Garros draw turns out to be just about perfect for Agassi. In the entire tournament, he faces only one seeded player, Carlos Moya, in the 4th round. Agassi wins that match 3-1. But in the final, against Ukrainian player Andrei Medvedev, a true clay court specialist, things start to look really bad for Agassi. After 2 sets, he's down 2-0. At that point, he has won only 3 games in the entire match. It looks like the pressure has finally broken Andre, and history is slipping right through his fingers. And then, a lucky break. The rain starts to fall. The organizers decide to stop the final. Suddenly, Agassi gets a chance to gather himself, talk with his coach, take a deep breath, and reset before the match continues. After the break, the players return to the court. At 4-4, 30-15 in the third set, Agassi hits 2 double faults in a row. And then, on break point, the moment that will decide the fate of the match. Agassi is backed up against the wall. He misses his first serve again, but still decides to go for an aggressive second serve. Then a deep forehand, a risky volley, and finishes the point at the net. That's when the momentum completely shifts. In the very next game, he breaks Medvedev at love and takes the third set, 6-4. Now he's in full control of the match. He takes the fourth set, 6-3. In the deciding set, on the fourth match point for Agassi, Medvedev sends the final ball long. The look on Andre's face says it all. Pure disbelief. He has just become only the third player in the Open era to come back from 2 sets down in a Grand Slam final. But even more importantly, he becomes the first male player ever to win the career Super Slam. Many years later, Agassi reflects on the 1999 Roland Garros.
I gotta say, it was the best moment I've ever had on the tennis court, as far as an accomplishment goes. And the feeling was me living the rest of my life, truly believing I wouldn't have another regret as it relates to my career.
A month later, he reaches the Wimbledon final, where he loses to Sampras in straight sets. Then he wins the US Open, beating Todd Martin in a dramatic 5-set final. Overall, during the year, Agassi wins 5 titles, including 2 majors and the ATP Masters Series in Paris. He finishes the 1999 season as the world number 1, ending Sampras's streak of 6 straight years finishing at the top of the rankings. And it turns out to be the only time in Agassi's career that he ends the year as the number 1 player in the world. After the greatest season of his career, Agassi enters the year 2000 with something he hasn't had in years: momentum. He arrives in Australia at the tournament that will leave the biggest mark on his career. On his way to the semifinals, he loses only 1 set. And there, waiting for him, is his biggest rival, Pete Sampras. Agassi is down 2-1 in sets. They go into a tiebreak in the 4th set. The score is 5-5. Sampras is just 2 points away from the final, but Agassi fires a beautiful serve right down the tee, 6-5. Then, once again, he shows why he's the best returner of his generation. He hits a sharp return right at Sampras's feet, and then rips a forehand down the line for a clean winner. And he knows how to celebrate it. The crowd in the stands is going absolutely crazy. In the 5th set, Agassi breaks twice and calmly closes it out 6-1. He becomes the first male player to reach 4 consecutive Grand Slam finals since Rod Laver achieved it back in 1969. In the final, he faces the 2nd seed and defending champion, Yevgeny Kafelnikov. Agassi loses the first set, but quickly regroups. Final score, 3-6, 6-3, 6-2, 6-4. And to finish it all, a smile from Steffi Graf. Andre has just won his 6th Grand Slam title. Before the end of his career, Agassi will win the Australian Open 2 more times, in 2001 and 2003. He is especially dominant in 2003, when he wins the title while losing only 1 set during the entire tournament. On April 28, 2003, he recaptures the number 1 ranking and becomes the oldest top-ranked player in ATP history, at 33 years and 13 days old. He retires at the age of 36 in 2006 at the US Open. In his final match, Agassi falls to Benjamin Becker in 4 sets. After the match, the crowd gives him a 4-minute standing ovation. Then, in the fall of 2009, 3 years after his retirement, a real shock hits the tennis world. Andre releases his autobiography, where he openly describes the many struggles he faced during his life and career, from growing up with a father who had a violent temper to hating tennis. But the biggest attention comes from one confession. Agassi admits that he used crystal meth. Not by accident, and not just once. In the book, he describes his first experience in detail. He recalls that he was sitting at home when his assistant Slim introduced him to one of the most addictive substances known to man. Slim says, "You want to get high with me?" "On what?" "Gack." "What the hell's gack?" "Crystal meth." "Why do they call it gack?" "Because that's the sound you make when you're high. Makes you feel like Superman, dude." As if they're coming out of someone else's mouth, I hear these words. "You know what? Fuck it, yeah, let's get high." Slim dumps a small pile of powder on the coffee table. He cuts it, snorts it. He cuts it again. I snort some. I ease back on the couch and consider the Rubicon I've just crossed. There's a moment of regret, followed by vast sadness. Then comes a tidal wave of euphoria that sweeps away every negative thought in my head. I've never felt so alive, so hopeful, and I've never felt such energy. After he was told he had tested positive on a doping test, he duped the ATP into believing he had taken the drug, possession of which carries a maximum 5-year prison sentence in the United States, by accident. Basically, the ATP took his defense at face value and brushed the whole case under the carpet. But if you ask the ATP, they would strongly reject that version of events, arguing that the decision was made by an independent tribunal and that no executive had the authority to decide the matter. In the meantime, the doping control system in tennis had become much stricter. Players are tested far more often, and in a much more systematic way. Still, trust has been damaged, especially when it comes to the biggest stars. Just look at the case of Jannik Sinner. Many people were extremely disappointed by the revelations in Agassi's book. Some even demanded that the titles he had won be taken away from him. But the ATP rejected any possibility of reopening the case or investigating it retroactively. In Agassi's defense, crystal meth is classified by anti-doping agencies as a recreational drug. That means it's not necessarily considered a performance-enhancing drug. And by Agassi's own account, he wasn't taking crystal meth to play better. He was taking it to escape reality and the depression he was going through. So his story really has nothing to do with cases like Lance Armstrong. The real problem is something else. He managed to get away with lying. And the ATP was ready to believe him without much investigation, probably to protect what was, at the time, maybe their most marketable player. In the end, Andre Agassi's story was never about being a perfect champion. He made mistakes, some of them serious ones, but instead of hiding from them forever, he eventually chose to confront them and tell the truth. His legacy isn't about perfection. It's about falling, learning, and finding a way to rise again.